Hey guys, Matt here from Spring Digital. Over the years of being engaged as a development company, I find a lot of inexperienced founders oversimplify and underestimate the process of developing an app or piece of software. And it's not their fault. Software development is a bit of a black box, and unless you work in this space, you probably don't know much about it. For example, people think it's all about good design or how great the code is. Others talk about different methodologies like Agile, Waterfall. But honestly, it's not as important as what I'm going to be talking about with you today. Now, every man, woman, and their dog seem to have an idea for a game-changing app or a new software program that will take the world by storm. And everyone wants to be the next TikTok or Uber. But to give you an idea, there are over 1,000 apps launched on the App Store every single day. As a developer myself, I've had hundreds of conversations with people and business owners about what they want to create. So in this video, what I want to do is share with you 7 things you need to know before you even start the development process. That will give you a major head start. My advice is not to get too caught up in the features or the design of your app. That can come later. You need to do the pre-work. And the first question you need to ask yourself is, do you really need to do this? You should do some market research first and find out if there's something out there already that does what your idea does. If I had $1 for every time I heard someone say, there's nothing like this out there, and I do a quick Google search or browse on the App Store and find a dozen similar examples, I'd be very rich right now. Market research is one of those things people don't do enough of. Most end up getting caught out when they realize either someone's already created something similar or there's just no demand for the product at all. For example, do you really want to build another CRM from scratch? Or can you customize Salesforce to do the trick? Do people really want the Uber of homing pigeons? Well, some might, but I don't imagine many would. Number 2 is know your users. I touched on this a little in the first point, but a lot of the time I find people build things that nobody needs, or aims to solve pain points that don't actually exist. So you need to understand what the real pain point is that you're hoping to address. That means getting really obsessed with your target users and the problems they need solving. The clearer you get with this, the better the understanding. This is why some of the best solutions ever created are because someone was solving their own pain points. When you are your own target user, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to make a great product. Number 3, approach your idea just like a startup business. I hear this all the time at conferences or networking events. I've got this great idea for an app. But I have to say that ideas without definition are as good as novels without pages. The point is, it's not enough to have an idea. You have to put pen to paper and define the project just like you were if you were starting a business. This means setting goals, defining your unique value proposition, identifying target audience, their pain points, researching competition. Once you've done that, you can start brainstorming features of your app. For example, we had a client who wanted to build an app that picked up your location and then advertised businesses in that area. And I remember asking, would you personally download this app to get targeted by ads? Probably not. Once you follow through on defining the project, you'll pretty soon know if it's an idea worth investing or a ship that should be abandoned before it sinks. Number 4, the more time you spend defining things, the lower the cost. If you're working with a developer or agency, the more questions they have to ask or the more ambiguity there is around your project, the more it's going to cost you. Look, I'm biased, but some of us aren't trying to milk you for every cent that we can. It's just that unknown features carry a higher risk for us. The higher risk carries more cost. It's kind of like telling a car maker that you have an idea for a car and you brief them you want 4 doors, 4 wheels and a sunroof. They'll be thinking to themselves, well, do you need sat-nav? How big's the engine? How many seats? Do you need a small or a large boot? Does it need to be child-friendly? Off-road, on-road, get the picture? And if there's anything I know after all the years of doing this, it's that clients hate surprises. And price increases are the worst surprise you can get. What's $200,000 today and then $150,000 tomorrow is a lot better than the other way around. The more detailed your scope is, the cheaper and more accurate your estimate will be. Tip number 5 is to get yourself a team. No matter how simple the business development manager at the software company sells it to you, It's hard work being part of this project, and you're going to need a small team around you to help carry the load if you can. For most projects, we suggest the founder or visionary should remain just that, the person with the ideas. You should have someone to manage the project overall, including keeping the agency on track. They're usually also responsible for answering day-to-day questions, relaying messages to the founder, and just making sure everything goes well. Finally, depending on the size of the application, get 1 or 2 qualified testers to confirm that what you've paid for is what you get, and what you get works well and is error-free. Number 6, stay involved throughout your project. It's your idea, so you're going to be the only person that knows what the final product should look like and when it's ready to launch. A lot of founders think that once they've briefed the developer on everything that they need, their job is done. And out the other side pops the perfect app or software program they had in their heads. For simple ideas, that may be possible, but in my experience, that's pretty rare. It's going to cost you way less to be involved throughout the process and pick up on feature corrections throughout the project, rather than making changes once the developer has delivered the final product. This is because making changes throughout the development process is far more straightforward than trying to go back in after shipping the final product and making adjustments, especially if they were using what's called agile methodology. The more you stay involved, the more money you'll save. And my final tip, number 7, is don't ever underestimate how long the testing stage takes. You have to be very methodical and logical in the way you test, and it's a very specific skill and talent that's usually not for a founder or an executive to do. They're just wired differently. The biggest trap I see many people fall into is thinking that certain features will be quick to test. Let's take, for example, the sign up feature. Most founders think, oh, that's a simple feature, no problems. But it's actually going to take at least 15 tests to validate this before it's ready to go. You'll need to test things like password strength, email validation, spam protection, bad data inputs, social logins, and then if something doesn't work, you'll have to report a bug and test it all over again. What you thought would be a quick few minutes can quickly turn into a few hours over several days. And that's just simply a sign-up feature. Pre-work will save you a lot of headaches if you do it right. So before you dive head deep into engaging a development company to start on your idea, take the time to understand what you're getting yourself into and validate whether your idea is actually worth pursuing. Developing an app or software is a business for most people, so you need to treat it like a business. When we work with our clients at my company, Spring Digital, we spend a lot of time understanding the fundamentals of their idea. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, we talk them out of it because the fundamentals just aren't sound. So save yourself the time and heartache by understanding these 7 things. Anyway, that's it from me. If you found this video valuable, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn more about bringing your app or software idea to life. See you next time.